On this episode of Cape Media News, a Viking warship docks in Plymouth Harbor. We'll take you aboard. Bicyclists eager to pass over the new Bass River Rail Trail crossing are breaching fences. We'll tell you why that isn't a good idea. And author Sherman gives back to the library that helped shape his writing career. These stories and more. This is Cape Media News. Happy Friday, everyone. I'm Sarah Colvin. Welcome to your local authentic newscast for Cape Cod, Cape Media News. We are so pleased to have you join us here. If you're following us on Facebook, we've started live videos every morning. Look for me and Gabby Rawson bringing you daily updates from the Cape Media Newsroom. It happens live on Facebook every weekday morning at around 9:30. On today's show, we'll take you aboard a Viking warship. We'll visit with the YD Red Sox and talk with author Sherman. We'll also get an update on the municipal police training bill from Senator Julien Cyr, who joined me in studio earlier this morning. But first, is it open or is it closed? The Cape Cod Rail Trail Bridge over the Bass River was installed this spring, but some bicyclists and walkers are confused over whether the passage is open or not. I headed down to the North Main Street crossing in Yarmouth to get the real story. Construction on the extension of the Cape Cod Rail Trail is ongoing, and so many people are eager to ride, they're ignoring no trespassing signs and even yellow police tape in order to access the newly constructed Bass River Bridge crossing. But this is continuing to be an active construction site, and residents are being urged to not use the trail as it is still closed. But as you can see, again, the fence has been breached, the tape has been cut. We talk with Yarmouth DPW Director Jeff Colby, and he advises stay off the trail.
That section from North Main Street over the Bass River and into a little piece of Dennis is not quite open yet. There are some elements that, because it's not completed, that aren't safe for bikers to use, such as the crossing itself. There's the appropriate flashing lights and crossing markers, and signage is not installed. The top level of pavement is not in, and so that creates a lip in some areas, particularly at the bridge, that's caused some injuries.
Because of those safety concerns, that section of the trail is fenced in and closed off. But riders continue to breach the protective fencing to ride on the closed trail.
There's fences at both ends of the project as well as at the bridge. Those have been taken down by people that are anxious to use the trail, but currently it's still not open. It's posted as no trespassing. It's an active construction project. You'll see construction workers on the trail regularly. The state is actually looking into additional barricades that can be put up, some jersey barriers, things like that, to make it even clearer that sections are closed.
Unfinished trail crossings also pose a problem.
Probably the most concerning areas right here at North Main Street. Without the proper crossing signals and signage and striping and pavement markings, that's a particularly dangerous spot where vehicles would interact with bikers. Bikers aren't sure what to do because not all the elements are installed. There's going to be an island, there's going to be a post, there's going to be proper detective panels and a little sidewalk extension piece. None of that is in yet.
Riders are urged to heed the posted warnings and stay off the closed section of the trail.
Even if you've seen a fence that's been recently dislodged or caution tape that's been ripped apart, please stay off the trail. It's not completely safe at this point. All those safety standards we just talked about have not been put in place, and so please stay off the trail, at least for now, until it's completed. As we encourage people to use other sections of the trail, to be clear, from North Main Street all the way to Higgins Kroll Road on the Yarmouth section of the trail, that's completed and open for business. It is over the Bass River, that Bass River connection, that is not yet open.
And Jeff Colby tells us that DOT anticipates completing this project in October. A ribbon cutting ceremony will be held at that time. It will be safe and legal to access the trail. For Cape Media News, I'm Sarah Colvin. And again, a reminder that while you may be able to access that path, it is not safe to do so. Riders are urged to be patient and wait until the official opening in October. We, of course, will keep you updated here on Cape Media News. Coming up next, history docks at Plymouth Harbor. A glimpse of Norse history in Plymouth this week as a majestic historic vessel pulled into Plymouth Harbor. Gabrielle Rawson reports on the Draken warship.
Long before the Mayflower landed on Plymouth Rock, Viking ships were making waves in the Atlantic. Viking seafaring success has long been attributed to their amazing shipbuilding skill. And now, nearly 400 years after the Mayflower sailed into Plymouth Harbor, a Viking warship has docked for a 4-day stopover to give visitors a chance to experience Norse history for themselves.
It's fantastic to come into a historical harbor with a historical ship. It's fantastic.
They are exploring America just as the Viking ancestors did.
The 115-foot Draken, which was built by a group of experienced boat builders, historians, and artists, proved its seaworthiness during Expedition America 2016, when she made the journey from her home port in Norway to Connecticut.
She spent about a year and a half down in Connecticut, doing repairs, taking tours, and now we are trying to explore, instead of coming to America, we are trying to explore within America.
It became a project because the owner who paid the whole thing, he was very interested in history, and he happens to live close to where Norway was gathered as a kingdom for the first time. And in fact, this boat is named after our first king. So he decided to get the best people in boat builders in Norway to build a ship like this to test the seaworthiness.
We show that this is possible with this ship, to crossing North Atlantic, some of the most dangerous waters around Greenland, and to Newfoundland with an open ship.
People tend to be a bit scared when they start in this boat, but when they see how nice it handles the seas, people get confident in it.
We have about 10 tons of stone on board in order to keep her stable. The idea is that if you would fall over and the boat would heel too much, the stones would just fall out and she would come back again. I was quite surprised when we hit the first storm. We sailed out of Shetland towards the Faroe Islands, and no one really knew how she was going to behave because it's the one design, it's the only ship of its kind, but she did very well.
To get a good crew is very important. We have 34 in the crew, and we're sleeping, 21 can squeeze into the tent, and the rest has to be out in watch, and then we change, and that's a little bit tough, but I like it. We're very pleased to be able to do this.
The 2018 Expedition America tour will travel to at least 14 harbors this year, from the coast of Maine to South Carolina, but they are not ruling out other destinations.
Right now we're thinking about maybe taking the ship through the Northwest Passage as the next adventure, or just taking it around the world. A little bit beyond what the Vikings did, but at the same time that's a little bit what we are about as well. We like to expand the horizons a bit.
Wherever the Draken goes, one thing is certain. It inspires visitors to reflect on the past.
There has been evidence found of permanent Viking settlements in North America. Alonzo Meadow up in Newfoundland. There are potential traces of settlements further south than that. A lot of people think that the Vikings even made it to Massachusetts at some point, though we don't have much definitive proof of that.
You've heard that term, you going berserk?
Yes.
The Vikings had a group called the Berserkians, and that's where that term came from, you're going berserk. Because they'd come into towns and they'd just destroy them.
I mean, a lot of people think about violence when you talk about Vikings, of course. There's a lot of that, but I think that there's a lot of other positive sides of the Viking culture as well. Our main mission is more about, inspiring people to take on challenges, think a little bit, around the box or like outside of the box. And I think the Vikings are an example of that. They were really pioneers.
Yeah, they commanded the ocean. They commanded the sea. At that time, they controlled the ocean.
The Draken warship is headed to both Rockland and Portland, Maine in the coming weeks. For Cape Media News, I'm Gabrielle Rawson.
And while the ship has departed Plymouth Harbor, you can follow its journey online. Visit Draken, that's DRAKENHH.com. He may be famous for writing books that have turned into blockbuster movies, but author Sherman hasn't forgotten his roots at the Hyannis Public Library. He presented the library with a gift this week. A local author who's achieved national fame is giving back to the library he says nourished his writing career. Casey Sherman is the author behind the blockbuster The Finest Hours and Boston Strong, the inspiration for the movie Patriots Day. Visitors to the Hyannis Public Library will now be able to see his work firsthand. This week, Sherman donated manuscripts of Above and Beyond and 12 that will be on permanent display.
Coming into the library really does take me back. It is a trip down memory lane. My family goes back here about 7 generations. When I really started to get into reading books, this would be the place that I would go, look at magazines, read books, and it was interesting for me because, you know, reading is an experience, right? You get to hold the book, you get to touch it, you get to smell it, you get to flip through the pages. One of the things that is important to me is to show young readers and would-be writers really how the sausage is made.
The manuscripts serve as a reminder of the impact a local library can have on the community.
We're extremely honored, of course, and it just underscores the importance of a library to the community, to any community, but we are proud to have served the village of Hyannis and the town of Barnstable in general with good results. Look at Casey.
We are very grateful to Casey for his wantingness to give back to the library. He has not forgotten his roots, just to give back and to appreciate where he has come from. And to have these manuscripts means that we can present them as an inspiration to others, both young and old, who might have a dream of writing.
I don't think I realized, though I've read several of his books, how hearing him talk himself of how he puts a book together gave me a fresh appreciation of this wonderful talent he has of having a sense of place. And Cape Cod is an unusual place, and he obviously has found a way to translate the place to the book so that the readers are having the same experience that every one of us is having.
Casey's mother, Diane Dodd, was in attendance during Wednesday's presentation. She, of course, is proud of her son.
Go, go, go. He just goes, goes, goes. He's just closing up a book, and he's got 2 books in his head. I'm amazed. I mean, he really works.
Casey's hope is that his story and his stories will encourage budding writers to take the next step.
I'm just a kid from Hyannis who caught a lucky break and wrote a few books. If I can somehow inspire some kid to think, okay, well, if he did it, why can't I?
You can be inspired by the words of Casey Sherman. His manuscripts are now on permanent display at the Hyannis Public Library on Main Street. For Cape Media News, I'm Sarah Colvin. And Sherman's book 12 about Tom Brady and the Deflategate scandal won't hit bookshelves for another couple of weeks, but if you want a sneak peek, it's on the shelf at the Hyannis Public Library. Coming up next, police training in the Bay State gets a big boost. Senator Julien Cyr joins me in studio next.
Bye-bye.
Hi. Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help. You were probably gonna turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right?
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him.
Training for police officers is a much-needed, often underfunded initiative here in Massachusetts. But a new bill awaiting Governor Charlie Baker's signature could be just what our local officers need. Cape and Island State Senator Julien Cyr stopped by our studio this morning. It is July, which means it is busy time on Beacon Hill. Joining me in studio, I welcome our Cape and Island State Senator Julien Cyr.
Good to be with you.
Thank you so much for coming in, Julien, as always. So you were up burning the candle last night.
We were until past 11:30 at night in the Senate debating an opioid bill. This is a lot of really good things about how do we put additional tools for our first responders, for our communities on the front lines of the opioid epidemic. Nowhere more than here on Cape Cod and on Martha's Vineyard are we on the front lines if you look at the epidemiology. So the House has passed a bill as well. We're going to reconcile those and send them to the governor's desk. But this is we're in a sprint to the end of the legislative session on July 31st.
One of those good things is the Municipal Police Training Fund legislation. Again, so important as we again learn of another officer shot in the line of duty not too far from home. Another tragedy. Tell me a little bit about the training fund legislation that is now heading to the governor's desk.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a really hard spring for the men and women who serve our communities in blue. I mean, we know that here on Cape Cod and in Yarmouth and now in Weymouth. What I found out though is that I sort of just assumed that we provided, I think like many people, we provided sort of a real stable amount of resources for municipal police officers and municipal police training. In fact, Massachusetts has not been doing that. So unlike what we've done for over a decade for firefighters, we actually provide municipal firefighter training. There's a small surcharge on homeowners insurance, and that funds the work that happens in the Barnstable County Fire Training Academy, the larger academies across the state. Well, the state, our police, municipal police, never had that mechanism. And so we were funding through different appropriations. It had gone up and down. It was not sufficient. Massachusetts ranked among the lowest states in municipal police training. So in April, I first introduced legislation that would provide a stable funding stream for municipal police training. It's a $2 surcharge on rental cars, so you rent a car for a day or you rent it for a month. It's just $2. That then goes into a fund, a municipal police training committee fund. And so we passed it in the Senate in April. The Senate passed it again in May. We finally convinced the House to follow suit. They took it up as well in late May. And then the Senate actually just concurred on that. And so the House and the Senate have both passed this bill. It's now laid before the governor. It's on his desk for his signature. We're hoping he'll sign it. It's going to mean up to $10 million annually for municipal police training. So that's a really, really big help. I think increasingly we're asking police officers and first responders to do, more than they've ever done, whether it's responding to the opioid epidemic, skills you need almost to be a social worker in part, in addition to a law enforcement officer, traffic safety. And so this provides the gamut from everything from first aid and CPR, training, sexual assault training, school resource officer training, looking at implicit bias, and how do you do that. So this is going to mean that basically municipalities are not going to have costs that they incur currently now to train new recruits. It's basically going to eliminate that cost, and it's going to basically pay for almost all of their police training. So it's basically a local aid bill. We're saving municipalities and local taxpayers money as well.
Once signed, that bill will go into effect in about 90 days. Time now to play ball. We take you inside the YD Red Sox. They just clinched a spot in the 2018 playoffs.
The Cape Cod Baseball League's YD Red Sox are leading their division. We headed to Red Wilson Field to meet the team.
Being out in this league is definitely an accomplishment. It's something that you dream of as a little kid, just being here means something, and getting the chance to prove yourself every day is a good thing, and a lot of guys out here are doing that.
There's so much history with this team, and Coach Bick's been here for 20 plus years.
Obviously the coaching here is unbelievable, and they've seen the best of the best, so it's fun to be hopefully a part of that group.
It's been a dream come true playing in the Cape, and you hear a lot about it growing up, and so just getting the chance to come out here and see where you stack up against some of the best talent in the country, it's an honor.
The history of this league itself goes way back. Most of the great players have played in this league, so it's an honor to be here and be chosen by a team to play here.
I love it out here. It's a ton of fun. All the guys are great. The level of competition in this league is fantastic, so it's a good challenge every single day.
It's been awesome here. I love playing I love playing here with Pick and the Red Sox, and I've had a pretty good season so far, and we've had a pretty good season. So
learning how to be a team player is part of the Cape League experience.
Every team's got quality players. It comes down to chemistry a little bit and how hard you can get your guys to play.
Playing under Coach Pick has been, a dream come true. He's produced some of the best players in the world. So getting to play under him has been a blast so far, and I'm just happy we're winning ball games and everybody's having fun out here.
Playing Major League Baseball has been a dream since I was a little kid. So it's nice to be, pretty close. Still a long way to go, but being out here in this league, it definitely feels pretty close.
It's a different level up here, and we try to get the best of the best, and I've been pretty lucky to have some really, really good players.
The Cape League provides an opportunity for budding baseball players to improve their skills and have fun.
You know, when they go to Major League Baseball in a year, most of them are going to have an opportunity to sign. They're going to play 162 games, and they're looking for guys that come out here, can play every day, play 6 out of 7 days, play hard for 44 days. And when I recruit, I talk to the coaches, and that's part of my gig, is to ask them, you know, is this guy a baseball player? Does he like playing baseball?
Being around the game every day, I think the game rewards hard work and people playing it the right way, so it's something I try to do every day. Try to put my best out there every time, and hopefully it works out.
You know, we face a ton of great pitchers every night, so you really have to prepare well. You have to be mentally focused. You have to bring it every single game, every single at-bat.
You can always improve in every area of your game, so you might as well just keep working, getting better, try to be the best that you can.
I'm making adjustments, you know, I'm progressing, so that's all I can ask for is to get better every day. Just really trying to put the work that I'm putting in off the field on the field.
If I can come out here and try and get a little better every single day, then I'm doing my job. You know, some people could look at this as kind of a pressure cooker. For us, we come and, you know, mess around, have a good time, and I think that's why we're playing such good baseball right now. It's just we're out here trying to have a blast.
You're around the best guys in all of the country, and so being able to pick people's brains and learn more about the game is definitely insightful.
The Red Sox scored 8-2 over the Bourne Braves Thursday night, securing a spot in the playoffs. For Cape Media News, I'm Gabrielle Rawson.
Tonight you can catch Chatham at Cotuit at 5, Brewster at YD at 5, Orleans at Hyannis at 6, Falmouth at Harwich at 6:30, Bourne at Wareham also at 6:30. Saturday it's Brewster at Bourne at 6, Hyannis at Falmouth at 6, Cotuit at Wareham at 6:30, YD at Chatham at 7, Harwich at Orleans at 7. And Sunday, watch the Cape League All-Star Game. That takes place at White House Field in Harwich, starting at 6. You can stay up to date with the Cape Cod Baseball League stats, scores, and so much more. CapeCodBaseball.org. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Cape Media News. We'll be back with more next week. In the meantime, follow us on Facebook.